I used to be very into the whole I want to cry genre, which this pretty much falls directly into.
Masochism.
Yeah, and then eventually I decided, no, I don't like crying. I want to see things get punched in the face. So
shonen trash.
So
why not both?
Well, I mean, if I'm watching Precure, then yeah.
きっと約束だよいつかまた同じ笑顔で
Hello, and welcome back to the box, the Annie chat box, where 5 friends snuggle up in a teeny tiny space to talk about all things anime. Woo! Thank you, Cammie, for that nice little introduction we have now. We're going to start trying to use it every time. Now, if you didn't hear the first time you are sitting with us here in the Annie chat box, go ahead and get yourself nice and snuggly. It's a tiny little box, but we're all friends here, and we're here to talk about episode 100.
Woohoo!
We're a century old.
Wow. It does not, I have to say personally, it doesn't feel that long.
No,
It really doesn't. It feels like we should be on like episode 42 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been along for a very long ride. We've had some new faces join us along the way, and John and Dominic. At the very beginning, it was just me, Cammie, and Craig. The 3 C's with the D's, I think we used to say back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Is that it?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
Wait,
God.
what?
No, we did. And
remember
you
that.
didn't
We
like
did.
it.
You did not. I mean, to be fair, it's really, really bad in context.
It's really bad.
We've gotten better at taglines, or Cammie's gotten better at writing them. None of the rest of us even bothered to put any effort into it, so God bless her. And God bless everybody else who's here. Let's talk about who's here. The whole box. The whole Annie chat box. First of all, you got me, Cassie, the producer. Off to my immediate left, we've got Dominic, the newest podcast host along for the ride.
Gross.
Thanks for the words of wisdom, honey. And the next room over, we have Gregory, our co-producer who does basically everything for the podcast.
Really gross.
Don't steal my shtick.
Okay.
All right.
Garbage.
All right, get your own shit.
Okay, garbage.
That's my thing.
Garbage?
It's
No.
your garbage?
Yeah, I'm the garbage and doo-doo one here, right? You have to get your own shtick.
Stop it. Stop it. Across the ocean, also someone who is not garbage, we have John.
Yay, I'm here.
The energy is palpable today.
Everyone
I'm
is so
sorry.
fucking energetic today. And introducing Cammie. Help me, Cammie, please.
So I wanted to say gross in Japanese, but I forgot it, and all I could think of was like kimochi. So
That's good. You want a kimochi warui, which is
kimochi
disgusting.
warui. There we go. Thank you.
I was also blanking on the Japanese for disgusting.
Now, Cammie, can you say that for us in your Blend S voice?
Let's see. Kimochi warui.
I love it. I love it. But nobody here is gross and nobody listening is gross, just so you guys know. Except me.
Damn.
Hey now.
Ha.
Damn.
You're a rock star. Get the show on. I don't know.
What?
Anyway, we've been sitting here for 100 episodes, so we wanted to do something really fun this time, so there will not be a, I guess, anime-related main topic outside of what we're going to be doing, and there will not be a review, but we're just going to sit here for as long as we feel like and talk about our previous ratings. Since we've been here for 100 episodes, or at least most of us have been, we've gone through a lot of different ways of, I guess, viewing anime, even recently, how we look at things, how we take notes on things, how we really, I guess, compartmentalize and weigh what's most important to us in watching a show, because we can't just sit there and enjoy it anymore, or at least we won't let ourselves, because that's what the world has come to. Anyway, we wanted to sit down and talk about that in the best way that I could think of to do it, and the way that Craig gave me an original idea for, thank you, Craig, is to go back through our ratings Originally, we were thinking we were going to go through one by one, but then we'll be here for an eternity. So I had each host go back and pick 3 shows that they feel like they may have rated differently if they could go back and look at them again. Just to be clear, we're not going to change our ratings. We're just going to go back and kind of think about it. Everything is set in stone. Our newest host, and one of our hosts who couldn't come up with the third one, which is totally fine, are going to pick shows that they were not on, but if they were on the review, what they would have rated it now. So if nobody has any questions, we can go ahead and slip on in and get comfy. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to talk about a little show called Gamers. To get things off to a great start. So here's the thing. We watched Gamers. I think it was in like summer of like 2016 or 2017. It was a show that started out really good, actually. I was really invested in the first 3 episodes. I think I talked to John at the time about it, about being really, really into the first episode, because it set up this premise that was very different from what you would normally see in a show like that, especially the ending line of the first episode. It was very, what? I'm invested.
Yeah, I think I was the one that swam it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were. This one was one you swam, I believe. And at the time, it also was on my list of things that I wanted to watch that season. So I was pretty invested in getting to watch this show. And a lot of people around me were not really fond of it. And I couldn't figure out why. I now know why. And a year or so later, I don't know, almost 2 years down, I don't know, I can't remember when this frickin' show aired, but everybody else at this point has basically forgotten Gamers, and I just can't.
Oh no.
Like, I want to, but it's one of those shows that just had so much fucking potential. And the way that it just drove itself into the ground and just became a mundane comedy show about stupid misunderstandings that made no sense. The longer I sit and think about it and I wish I could stop, the more I keep hating it.
Mm.
And I wish I couldn't, but I do. At the time, I gave it a skip it, mostly due to its first episode. Because regardless of the sludge that I got throughout the show, I was like, you know what? I was at least invested at the beginning, so I'm gonna give it a bone. If I could go back right now, I would burn this thing.
Wow.
I hate Gamers so much.
Can that just be our episode tag, like, joke? I hate gamers. So that
Oh my
any
God.
Context.
No capitalism. Just making
No, I don't want us giving out that idea.
I think it's a good idea.
People are just gonna go around now and just be like, just so you guys know, Cassie said the sentence, I hate gamers.
I mean, it's.
I
She
mean,
wants
Let
to
me
burn
clarify.
them.
you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to say.
Okay, the individuals who like to absorb and enjoy the medium of gaming, I am perfectly fine with. I love them. They're great. Gamers, the show, is terrible. And I know some people like that, and it like the show, and that is totally fine. I hate this show, and I want to forget it, and I just wanted a moment to stand on my soapbox and say, God, I just wish I could forget about Gamers. But I can't. Does anybody else want to talk about Gamers while we're here?
It's one, I definitely forgot it. I wish I could give you the ability to forget it, because I totally understand your frustrations. Like, I definitely had them while watching the show. But then, basically now, all I remember is that I liked the opening, and that it was just a dumb show that Get and I watched together. So I guess I view it as harmless. But I did really like the opening sequence because of all the gaming references and stuff.
Oh yeah, the opening was really good. It's just one of those shows that, like, you watched and you didn't like it, but everybody's gonna forget about it. And to be fair, most people have forgotten about Gamers. Just like most people have forgotten about Angels of Death, which I also should have burned, but didn't. But we're not gonna talk about that one because I only got 3 and that wasn't one of them. But sometimes you just wish you could go back and be like, I have spent so much time sitting here hating this thing. And when I want to bring up a comparison of something that has done something good to someone who has done it bad, Gamers is always the first thing that pops into my head. And I hate that.
Yeah. And I think maybe you had put in more, like, serious investment to the good things that it did, and so therefore you were more let down. Like,
Perhaps.
that could have been it too. Because, I mean, when something disappoints you, like that stays with you.
Mm-hmm.
I know I gave it a like it at the time because I did enjoy it at the time, but as time has continued and I think back to it, I just remember all the frustrating bits and I'm like, I know I enjoyed it, but I can't remember why.
Oh no.
And it's just...
Oh no, that might be even worse. I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry for your loss.
If memory serves, it was the little sister is the only thing that you liked about the show.
I don't even remember who the little sister is.
How do I remember it, even though I completely...
I don't know. I just remember the main group of people, and I remember I was super invested in the pink-haired girl and her situation with the like super cool dude, and how she went so far to get his attention, and they had this cute little moment, and then like just the snapness of the first episode as well. I remember being super invested in those three things, and those two things, and they all happened in the first 3 episodes. So.
Just thinking back to it, all I can remember are all the frustrating moments. I remember there being like really good potential at the start, and then I know I enjoyed it, but I can't remember why. So I also want to retroactively bump mine down, but to skip
But we
it.
can't.
No.
All right, I'm going to abandon the box that I kicked everybody out of, flipped over, and stood up on for a few minutes to give Cammie some time to talk about her first show she's going to look back on.
Sure thing. So this is going way, way back to the 4th review we ever did on this podcast. I'm going to be talking about Bigata HK, or Yamada's First Time. Or, excuse me, it's something like Bigata HK. Yeah. And this was a really fun review. We did it around Christmas time for some reason, but it was really fun to just watch something kind of pervy, rom-com-y around that time. And it was the second or third time I'd watched the show, and I gave it a check it. But I was really thinking back on it for a multitude of reasons. I think especially after just like seeing Green and seeing Uzumaid, and like there are so many anime that approach sex from a really uncomfortable level, and it's rarer that I will find shows about sex from a female perspective, and B, in a way that overall, like, you wouldn't think it at the surface, but actually kind of approach it from a feminist, like, women-respecting lens, which I think that Bigata HK does. The girl always is giving her agency to the things that she does. Sometimes she changes her mind, but, then she bolts and runs away. The characters just feel like they're treated with respect. I mean, within the confines of, like, a rom-com series. But I really enjoy the show. It's actually one that I have come back to multiple times to either think about or watch. And the more I thought about it, I was like, this wasn't a show that I just checked out and dropped off. This is a show that I purposefully go back to. And you know what? I would definitely give it a like it. I think it's a really fun show. And definitely if you want something like ecchi that is really apart from the norm, you should definitely go check it out. But Cassie and Craig, you were on that review with me. Do you have any thoughts of your own?
Yeah, and I scrolled back, and it looks like, I think I gave it a check it at the time as well. And you know what? In hindsight, same thoughts. Because I think at the time, especially since we weren't watching anime so frequently as we are now as podcast hosts, we just watch things and then drop them if we didn't like them or just move on. The sludge that I've gone through that has just put women, especially, in a place of just sex objects, is when you compare that to Bigata HK is actually pretty stellar in its genre.
Yeah.
So I'd probably give it a like it too. And it's so funny. Like, its comedy is actually funny.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And from what little I've checked out of the dub, it also has a pretty decent dub as well. So in hindsight, I think I would also agree with you that it deserves more than a check it. But what can we do? Craig, what are your thoughts?
I went back and looked at it as well. My rating is a like it, and I stick by that statement. I found it entertaining, all things considered. I watched it in the dub.
Craig is the wisest of us all.
Yeah, Craig was right.
I was just entertained by it back then. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I can see why some people could probably bounce off of it, especially given the fact that we're now in a constancy of, each season we have to have the rom-com, but I mean, at least it's from a female, as Kevin said, a female perspective, where it's just the girl that's thirsty as fuck and wanting to get laid. It's a different spin on romance. And it's based on a 4-coma, if I recall correctly.
Hashtag Craig was right.
Hashtag Craig was right. We need to start that. That needs to be a thing. Also, I think that Craig actually brought up a really good point in that, like, romantic comedies are very common in anime, mostly in, like, the ecchi genre for some freaking reason, in the harem genre. But you will occasionally get, like, a really smart romantic comedy, and I think that's something that'll be fun to talk about with Kaguya-sama this season, and also a few others. And I never, like, back in the day, would put Yamada's First Time Begot to HK on that level.
Mm-hmm.
But it deserves to be there. It's a good, funny show.
That was that the episode before I joined?
I think so. And also what Cassie was saying was absolutely true. That's when we were doing like every month or every 2 weeks. Like that was back before we were weekly.
Oh.
As well.
So yeah, we really weren't watching a lot of anime.
And John, you're correct. You joined the next episode. The next episode was ReZero, which we did right afterwards, and you were on that one.
But yeah, I did watch Big Ata HK before I joined the podcast, and yeah, I really enjoyed that series as well, so it was fun.
Dom, have you seen it?
No, most of these shows that I think aren't the ones that I'm particularly bringing up, I have not seen, like, at all, so I'm just kind of sitting here like, yeah, anime's a thing, I guess.
Maybe someday I'll run you through that one, because you might like it.
Yeah.
It's really silly.
I listened to that episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was... Okay, listen. It was our fourth episode.
I've listened to all the early episodes, okay? I was going through them one by one until Cassie brought me on, and then I was like, well, now I'm regular. I don't have to actually catch up.
I'm pretty sure it was Cassie that got me to watch it as well in the first place.
And I think I'm the one who made everybody else watch Begot to HK for this episode, too. I can't remember what my thought process was.
They had
I
a
think we
Christmas
talked
date
about-
in it or something. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be why. I don't remember. I think we talked about Christmas dates on that episode, too,
Yeah.
or just, like, first dates in general,
Yeah.
and Craig said that he would get a girl a Christmas cake, and I was like, look at Craig, being a stallion.
Oh yeah, I called that the normie episode because you all talked about dating. And stuff.
If memory
Yeah.
serves as well about that episode, we all were in person in Cass's room, huddled around her old, like, blue Yeti mic. And we're just like,
Aw.
Yep, we were.
the
All
memories.
memories.
and I'm just like, oh god, the audio quality in this episode is garbo.
So, it's funny because the quality might have been iffy, but I remember we all had a better sense of the flow of the conversation and not interrupting each other because
Yep.
we could look at each other as we spoke,
Yep.
which was
Yeah,
pretty
that's
cool.
That's a little hard to do now, but we're making do. We're doing our best. But Craig, I hope you're not done talking because it's your turn. What's the first thing you want to put up on the chopping block or up on a pedestal, whatever you feel like?
Well, let's start with the one that I'm gonna probably bump down. The show I'm gonna bring to the table is Recreators, a show that no one volunteered for except for John. To give you context, I gave this show a love it. And to give more context about that rating, me and John were really into it. John also gave it a love it for that episode. And me and him were really into the idea of just like, it's an original property. It has good polish to it. But thinking back to it, it's been a good, solid, now almost about 2 years, aired in spring of 2017. And I'm like, yo, this is from a awesome company that has done some pretty good stuff. Troika, who's, done I'll Know Zero and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's got Sawano in it. It's got the Sawano in it. Fuck, it's got the Sawano in it. And I'm like, I fucking...
That music, though.
Oh, the music. It all sounds the same, but it's the hype music. And it presented an interesting concept, and I was like, you never really see that in anime as a whole, but like looking back at it now, I would honestly just say probably check it. A lot of the characters are fine. The main character, the self-insert character, is boring as fuck in my opinion, and really time has not done this show many favors, and the only thing that's memorable about the show is the openings, and again, that Sawano music. So, I mean,
That's a way no.
the Sueno. I mean, yeah, I don't really have much else to say. If you want to check it out, it's about fucking light novel and anime characters coming to the real world and like blowing shit up and trying to fight each other in a battle royale.
It's like, what's the opposite of an isekai?
Yeah, essentially. So
good?
Hey.
Just listen to the music.
Yeah, I guess I'm really surprised that you'd bump it down 2 ranks. Like, it's not even worth a like it at this point to you?
No. Again,
Oh.
I base it on memory. Like, do I
That's
remember
fair.
anything that like stood out of it? And I'm like, well, it was it struck the balance of there's a lot of talking, then there's action. The action choreography is fine, but like there are shows with a lot more polish in my opinion. I guess back then me and John were both in the camp of it's so unique in the sense that they're mishmashing all these genres in the real world, and we got to stop this broken ass villain that equates to JoJo in terms of power set. So
If I remember correctly, you both weren't very fond of the ending either. You thought it was very, like, an ass pull.
yeah,
or something.
Deus Ex Machina. The ending was fucking literally written, and it just ends.
Yeah, we might have also been kind of riding off the hype train of having just finished watching it.
Yep, because we reviewed it not long after the show ended, like a month if that.
I love how civil these conversations have been so far. I'm waiting for somebody to be like, but you're wrong.
I mean, I came in with that isekai comment.
I mean, you did. Okay,
I mean,
fine.
I'm
you're fine.
always trying to throw poop around, so.
Ew.
Oh,
Good to know you're a monkey, Dom. That's great.
I know, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, speaking of you, you're up.
Oh, monkey time.
Monkey time.
Yeah. So, I didn't have enough in my catalog of things to go back because most of the stuff I've rated on here has been fairly recent and I would stick by it. So I just picked a bunch of stuff from other episodes that I wasn't on. The first one I picked was Kido Senkan Nadesco, or Martian Successor Nadesco, which is that was apparently John's host choice a while back.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand, I haven't listened to the episode yet, or maybe I don't know if I ever will. But I haven't listened to the episode. But apparently, it wasn't that well received outside of John.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna be John's one ally here in that I watched Nadesco in college back when I was going through a very, very strong like mecha, just watching any and all mecha shows that I could pick up back in the day. And Nadesco is one of those shows that is very steeped in the sort of culture of the genre, and I think that is one of the reasons it may not resonate well with a lot of people, because even when I first watched it, it was like I was still very new to watching mecha anime, so like a lot of the things that it was trying to do didn't quite resonate with me as well. But as I've like watched more stuff and I've been, watching, robot anime for a while now, like I can look back at Nadesco and be like, you know what, that show was actually like pretty clever in some of the things it was trying to do, and a lot of the ways it tried to subvert, typical tropes, and also, like pay homage to a lot of things. So to me, Nadesco is, I would give it, if I was reviewing it now, I would give it a like it.
Yay.
I think at the time I said like one of the best lines I've ever said on this podcast, and I don't think I'll ever outdo myself, and I'll stick by it, that Nadesco is a love letter written in a language that I don't understand.
I mean, that's very fair.
So I can look at it and be like, wow, this is definitely catered to an audience, and it's probably doing a bang-ass job, but I'm not that audience, so I don't get it. But you being in that crowd, I feel sorry for John that you weren't on the show by that time.
Yeah.
Cause that, I feel like a lot of us aren't really steeped in Mecha,
Yeah,
so me and Cammy and Craig
I
probably
think
were kind of just sitting there.
I think John has John, you watched this like early in your anime watching days, right?
I'd watched Gundam and like some Macross and the odd like giant robot series, but it really was one of my earlier series that I watched. Like I had volume 1 on VHS.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it. I was like, I feel bad because John probably like recommended this show that he watched like in his younger days, being like, oh, I'll introduce this to everyone too, and then like nobody really got it. And I kind of get that because there's another guy I know from England, and he's like also, I think that was also like one of his first forays in anime was Nadesco. And like he's like one of the big like authorities, I guess I can say, on like older mecha anime and stuff now, and he loves it and stuff. So I think it was just something that was also a little bit more available over there than it was over here. So that's interesting to think about.
I wonder if there was just like a stand in England at some point where they were just giving out Nadesco like VHSs for free. Like, hey everybody, have a free sample of this Japanimation that's getting so popular.
Japanimation.
You bring up a good point too, Dom, just about how sometimes also time and place can really play into how sentimental and like the way that you approach a show. Like if I were to choose like the original first season of Sailor Moon for like a host choice, like we would like rip it apart for all of the, the things that it does. And it's just like from John's perspective, or like for me, if it was Sailor Moon, it's like this is something that I was really impacted by when I was younger, and then you just have like an attachment to it that's very different than coming at it from purely a critical perspective.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's probably one of the many reasons why I could probably never be like, hey guys, let's watch a season of Digimon for review.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think my heart could take it.
Yeah.
So in that regards, I think John was very brave in
Yeah.
like putting this on the table, because I think if anybody said they didn't like Digimon, I might actually cry.
Now you've discovered the secret reason why we haven't actually watched G Gundam.
Oh,
Oh no.
Oh.
I think if anyone actually tried to tell me they didn't like G Gundam, I would probably have a mental breakdown.
Oh my gosh, no.
Rest assured, if we did put G Gundam on, I would give it a love it, because
I know.
Spoilers.
I don't care.
Let's face it, I probably would be in that camp too.
Listen,
That's true.
You've
That's
got allies.
That's true. I'm not worried about Craig or
Whoa,
John.
Whoa,
Hey, call out.
Me and Cammy are the only ones who keep bringing up the horse Gundam and how
Exactly.
intrigued we are. I haven't heard these other motherfuckers say anything about how they're intrigued by something in G Gundam. I'm pretty sure I could find episode numbers of me and Cammy going, yeah, that horse Gundam, we're still intrigued.
But Cass, have you seen this man?
Okay, I think we might need to move on to a different show about giant robots.
One more thing.
One more thing.
Guy Daigoji is the best part of Nadesco, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, and the reason why he meets a very untimely demise is kind of
A goddamn shame.
It's kind of the point, because that's also a pretty common
Trope.
Yeah. But he is pretty great. I agree.
But I guess it's my turn, and
Yep.
I am. My first one that I'm talking about is Gundam Build Divers. Not divers.
Build fighters?
Build Fighters. I'm pretty sure.
You put Build Divers on our little thing.
That must have been a typo on my part.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
not gonna
really.
lie. I
was like,
looked at that and I was like, that was so recent.
Yeah.
I wonder what his thoughts have changed on. Okay, so that's fine. Gundam Build Fighters.
Fighters.
Talk to us about
I
that.
meant fighters. I promise. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So Gundam Build Fighters was one of the first series that I was on the podcast. Wasn't the very first, I think. But
Yeah, again, ReZero was your first.
Yeah, ReZero was the first. And at the time I gave it a like it, I believe.
Yes, you did.
damn.
But in hindsight, thinking about it, all the sequels and spin-offs to Gundam and to like the Build franchise as it is now, and also the other Gundam series I've watched that I've really enjoyed, like none of them have been really grabbing me like Build Fighters did, and like even the other Build franchise series, I keep comparing back to Build Fighters. The original, it's not technically it's not the original series, but it's the first one that was by the Build title. But yeah, so giving it just a like it feels like an injustice, really, and I should have given it a love it.
I agree. Also, I noticed this is one of our earlier episodes. I'm not sure if we had our new rating system by then.
I think it was because we were still going by a number rating at the time, and
Yeah, and I kind of had to round the numbers at that point. So if we gave it like a 3.5 to a 4, I gave we basically rescinded it to a like it. So that also could have not been in your favor, because I'm pretty sure I would have given Build Fighters a love it too. That was my first host choice, I believe.
yeah, it was. Yeah, so that 100% totally deserves love it's from us, I think. So that's
At
why
least
I
for me
wanted
and
to
you,
fix
yeah.
that.
I'd give it a love it.
Yeah. I don't know about Cammy and Craig, but they can give their thoughts.
I can't remember what I rated it, if it was either a check it or a like it. If it was a check it, I would bump it up to a like it.
It's a like it right now.
Okay, so it was a like it, yeah. I think, like, I'm not, like, completely into the market that it really, really catered to, but I still found it to be a really charming and enjoyable series. Throwback to when Cassie and Craig stayed the night at my old apartment and we just had a sleepover and binged a bunch of Build Fighters.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
We sure did. It was a whole lot of fun, especially because I think we had a few drinks in us, and
We did.
You were super giggly. It was very cute. Cammy is an adorable giggly drunk.
Oh, jeez. I remember Mr. Extra, and every time he showed up in the opening flipping his hair back, you guys went,
Oh!
Because it's back on.
Right here, right now.
Great times, great times.
Dang, do we have anything else to say about Build Fighters? I think that's a pretty upfront one.
It's a fucking fun show, yo. Everything since has been very okay, from what I hear.
All right, I guess I'm back up to bat.
Yeah.
So the next one I'm going to talk about is Sakura Quest, which was a show I believe Cammy passed a year or so ago. And it was one of the working girls doing working things shows that came up, and Cammy was instantly enchanted with the first few episodes. And to be honest, going back and thinking about it, I think I was too. I think I was way too hard on Sakura Quest.
Oh.
I gave it a skip it at the time. And in hindsight, I think that Sakura Quest is, I don't want to even say harmless. I think that it's actually a show that some people might latch onto, and I know that they did in the community, and it really made them feel inspired. And I think that it does have a really nice, in its own way, kind of feminist message about, reaching out as a woman and realizing that, you can be in a city setting, you can be in a country setting, and you can make an impact. And the fact that it was a group of young women was phenomenal. And I'm really kind of, I don't know, I think that it was just at some point the show got kind of mundane and boring.
Which it did, yeah.
And I latched more onto that than the good things that it did. Because it definitely did some good things, and it was also really fun to look at. The show was really pretty. I've gone back and looked up images that I really liked of the main character with her little queen hat, which is one of my, aesthetics.
Yes!
And honestly, if I could, I would probably go back and agree with Cammie on this show, who gave it a check it, because I think that the show is definitely for some people. And I was just really annoyed that day or something. I don't know what crawled up my ass, but I don't think that Sakura Quest deserves a skip it.
Aw, that makes me happy. I'm glad, because I even remember too just feeling like I totally ruined yours and Craig's time, and then I was like, I'm never gonna do Shirobako as a host choice because I don't want to put them through something like that again.
Let me be clear. Shirobako, I have not finished because I don't know why. Because I think that Shirobako, and I know I said I was being too mean to Sakura Quest, but give me a second to bash it for a second. Shirobako, in its first half that I have watched, has done more than Sakura Quest did in its entire runtime.
I would agree.
So, I think I haven't finished Shirobako. I think at this point I'm just kind of waiting for somebody to make it their host choice. I'm waiting either on Cammie or Dominic. It's going to be one of them.
Yeah, Cammie, I would totally gush with Shirobako.
Yes!
One of you guys is going to do it eventually, so
yes.
I don't need to try and watch it right now. But Shirobako is on a whole nother level than Sakura Quest is from what I've seen so far of it. The characters are more fun. The characters are doing something that I'm more interested in, which that's a little bit subjective, but still, they're doing something I'm more interested in and can more relate to because I work in an office setting. And I don't know, it doesn't, as far as I've gotten in Shirobako, it's not mundane. It doesn't, get into this weird ditch and sit there for 10 years and then get out and be like, oh, wait, I'm going to try and be good again. It hasn't done that. So...
Yeah.
So while I think I was way too mean to Sakura Quest, I still am probably, if I could go back in time, I would probably give it a check it, because this isn't for everyone, but I think that the people it is for, it will really resonate with, and then the people like me might be a little bit bored for a bit, but it doesn't deserve a skip it.
That's good to hear. I definitely agree. I feel like there are aspects of Sakura Quest that can be really enjoyable or people can relate to, but on a whole, it just, its pacing especially was a big kind of deterrent, I think, that brought it down a bit.
I remember there was a shy girl in that show
the
that
purple
the only way that
girl.
she could only find a way to communicate through song. And that broke me into little pieces when she sang to everybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it had its moments, it had its highs, and I think even then I could see those highs. It's just the lows, for some reason, had more of an impact on me at the time.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, please, Cammie, if you want us to watch Shirobako, we can watch Shirobako.
Okay.
Basically, I just remember us all me and you, Cass, being kind of really because it was a 24-episode show, and as you said, Shirobako, essentially... the pacing was ratcheted up, and it's dealing in the anime industry versus going on in the rural. So I too would give it a check it, because it was harmless. I mean, it was cute for what it did, and you can obtain your dreams in any setting, really. I mean, as you said. So definitely doesn't deserve to be skipped, but taste test and see what you're feeling about it.
Oh, that's good. That makes me happy. All right. So then moving right along, this is honestly going to be pretty short, sweet, and to the point. Cassie even used this as an example when she was introducing us to the concept of this episode's topic. So I'm going to talk about Yuri on Ice, which I gave a like it to, but
technically.
Yeah, but short, sweet, and to the point. And there's even been some distance from the show with me now, but bad production aside and little narrative qualms aside, I just love the characters and I love aspects of the story. I love pieces of the production. so much that, like, I just personally going back, and the fact that I do put a lot of stock into my own personal enjoyment, I would give the show a love it. I think something that you have to understand with me and that I'm more admittent to nowadays is that my ratings tend to be a bit more subjective. A lot of times you'll hear me say, subjectively I would give it this, objectively I would give it that. And now a lot of my ratings, usually if they really lean on either the extreme bad or the extreme good side, I'll go with my most subjective choice. And I love the shit out of Yuri on Ice, so I would just go back and give it a love it. Short, sweet, and simple.
I mean, I agree. Like, I think at the time I was one of the people who was just like, the production on this made me so mad.
Well, yeah.
And now that I've calmed down, I like realize how much Yuri on Ice art I've passed back and forth between me and Cammy and Rin and Julie over the years.
Yeah.
And the amount of fucking fan fiction I've read and started to write, and just, I'm like, I can't say I just like the show. I literally can't. I think that, like, people call me out on this on the Tamako Market, like, review, where it's like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, regardless of how simple something may seem or how many qualms you might have with the show, if you actually are enjoying it so much to go back to it over and over again, it's probably a love it. And I think that applies to Yuri on Ice as well. I haven't gone back and done a full rewatch of the series, but I'll go back and, like, think about it or write about it or go on Tumblr and look up pictures. I have a poster on my wall. I can't do that and be like, yeah, the show's alright.
I go back and rewatch a clip from episode 7 and watch people's reactions to it, and it just gives me a little bit of extra happiness in my day. It's great. And I think I've also just realized when I do revisit it briefly how much I really miss the characters, and, like, now that we've got the movie on the rise, I'm just like, wow, I can't wait to, like, be with them again and be in this universe and stuff.
Yeah, and definitely, like, Yuri on Ice got, like, it's across the board based on a technicality that our rating system had been numbers at the time.
That's true. Yeah,
So, John, do you have any thoughts or feelings on it? According to our scoreboard, you gave it a like it back in the day.
It was another series that I did really enjoy. I was surprised how much I enjoyed the series, even despite its faults. And, like, yeah, even as a straight male watching it, I still really enjoyed watching the characters and the relationships, even between even with the homosexual relationship that it was depicting. I was rooting for them and thought they were really cute together. Would I give it a love it? Maybe not, but I still really enjoyed it, so definitely a high like it. So
nice.
You've never seen Yuri on Ice, right?
I have never seen it, no.
I'll fix that.
You say you'll fix a lot of things.
I am going to fix a lot. Here, listen.
Wow.
Crystal agreed
Wow.
to watch Yuri on Ice.
Oh, yeah, she did!
Several years ago
I remember
now.
one day she walked in and she was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "Gay ice skating." And she was like, "What? That sounds cool. Can I watch it too?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. We can sit down and watch it sometime." We haven't done it yet. So I need to get me and Crystal and you to sit down and watch Yuri on Ice. Okay. It'll be a sister's date.
Nice. All right. Well, we're not completely off the ice yet, are we, Craig?
Oh!
Fucking god damn it.
I get it, because Antarctica and ice.
Place further than the universe, otherwise known as Sora Yori Mo Toi Basho. Okay, so just to bring this up, trying to distill down the whole entire gambit of what I've rated every single show down to 3 quintessential shows was really hard. This episode that we reviewed this in Laid Back Camp, I look back and I'm like, fuck, there's so much about these both shows that I just, again, I give the show a like it. I'm bumping that up to a love it because I see so many think pieces on this show alone that I'm like, fuck, this actually resonates with me in a way that's really fucking weird. I was actually voting, I voted Devilman for the Anime of the Year at the Crunchies, but I kind of wanted Place Further to win something. I was like, Please, just give it to Place Further. It's such a good thing. It's so wholesome. It's cute girls doing amazing fucking things. They're seizing their dreams. They're actually having character development while it's looking fucking beautiful by Madhouse. And it's just, God, like, I would love to rewatch this show. Does it need a dub? Yes, it does need a dub. Why the fuck is there not a dub? I would go back and watch that in a heartbeat. Damn. And just, again, context, Laid Back Camp was also in the same episode. And I see several clips of that show, and I'm just like, fucking love that show, too. So, but I could only pick 3, and Place Further was the second on this list, and no holds bar. Just, what a great show that is. Just, I think about it, and again, would go back and rewatch.
Such an inspirational series as well.
Right?
Like, it makes you want to go and do something and chase your dreams.
I'm so glad, Craig, just because I feel like, I don't know, like, I think definitely within our friend group, but also just the anime community as a whole, there was just such a palpable effect that the show had on a lot of viewers. And I had always kind of anticipated from things you said that you were on a similar wavelength to all of us. But I also just feel like you hand out Lovitz a bit less often. So I also just was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, maybe it didn't fully hit. Because it'd be interesting to go back to count, but I feel like I've given out more Lovitz than like you have, for example.
Yeah, I think on the whole, I think me and John give out the most like it's across the board, but I'm just like, I remember my phrase for both Laid Back Camp and Place Further was, this is cute girls doing cute things, but I was really fucking surprised by them. I like it. And now I'm just like, even at the end of the year, it was a year later, I was like, man, both shows are really fucking good. God damn it. I see clips of the dogs. I see them going to Antarctica. Hinata's such a good. God damn it. So fucking good.
That's awesome.
And it was in the same season as Doubleman Crybaby. Fox Winter 2018 was solid.
Yes.
So much good that season.
God, I love Place Further Than the Universe.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I rated it.
Let me look. I can pull it up. I have the thing up on the side.
Episode 75.
Probably should have rated it. Love it if I didn't.
Let's see. So for A Place Further Than the Universe.
Yo, motherfuckers gave love it.
Cammy gave it a love it. I gave it a love it. Craig gave it a like it, and John gave it a love it.
You give love it's to both shows.
It was really fun to pair those shows together just because
it was.
They're so good.
What would you give in A Place Further Than the Universe?
I'd give it a like it.
That's fair. Speaking of things I love.
Oh, yeah. My next one is Koe no Katachi, or A Silent Voice, which is a movie.
Yeah.
by Kyoto.
I had no idea.
By Kyoto Animation.
Some may say a good movie.
Based on a manga. Which I haven't read. I read the one shot like a bajillion years ago. But then I never bothered to read the manga. Anyways, this movie was actually the very first thing me and Cassie watched together.
True story.
Way back in the day.
Way to make an introduction. Want to watch this really sad movie? But good movie, but also not sad movie.
Oh, cathartic as fuck.
And I used to be very into the whole I want to cry genre, which this pretty much falls directly into.
Masochism.
Yeah, and then eventually I decided, no, I don't like crying. I want to see things get punched in the face.
So
shonen
trash.
So
why not both?
Well, if I'm watching Precure, then yeah. But eventually I stopped doing the whole crying thing. And then Cassie was like, "Oh, you should watch this movie with me. It's super good." And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna cry." I don't like doing that anymore. And then we did, and it was really good. And I guess I guess because of that, I hold this movie in a somewhat special place in my heart because it just has that sort of special significance to it. But also, I do think the movie is very well done. In its, you're giving me this face, making this very hard to talk about.
I'm sorry. Keep going. Keep going. So
But yeah, the production's really good, of course, because it's fucking Kyoto Animation. Everything they make looks like fucking sweet, delicious golden butter.
Yeah, it does.
But I like the way it plays with a lot of the story elements. I wasn't there when you and Cassie and Zach talked about it on Save Our Progress,
Oh yeah.
but I remember you guys like really getting into certain like visual aspects. I really like the way that when he first starts out, or the movie first starts out, and he's going to school, and there's all the X's and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really good movie. I should rewatch it sometime. I guess it's coming out on Blu-ray.
yes, it is coming out on Blu-ray. I already put in my pre-order, but I might cancel my pre-order because there's whisperings there might be a like specialty, what are those called?
Limited edition.
Oh, like a premium?
Special edition, limited edition, whatever. I hear there might be on the horizon a limited edition, and if I buy this movie and then have to go back and buy the limited edition, I'll fucking do it, but I don't want to. So I might cancel so I can watch for the limited edition. We'll own it regardless is the point.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so that's I would give that a love it.
Yeah. Didn't we all give it love it?
I think so. Let me go double check, but I think we all gave it love it. As it deserves.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal movie, man. I've watched that so many times and it just it breaks me.
Love it's across the board.
Yay.
Robbie Damon as Shoya is so fucking good.
Oh, yeah, let's not get me on the conversation of why Robbie Damon is just so good on so many different levels.
He's also in the I Want to Eat Your Pancreas movie as the main character in that too, and he continues to do the good performances.
Speaking of another I'm watching this just to cry film, I need to watch I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. I wanted to when it actually came to our theater like a couple of weeks ago, and Craig went. And I was going to go too, but I was feeling sick, and it was cold, and it was snowing, and I was like, yeah, I'm not fucking with it, but I will watch it, though. I've heard I Want to Eat Your Pancreas is a really good movie.
It's a Cassie-ass movie.
It's a Cassie.
It sounds like one, yeah.
But yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from about the movie having like a special place in your heart. Like, I've seen the movie multiple times, but also really being able to share it with someone you love is a very powerful experience. I know when I saw it a second time in theaters, I just like was breaking all the time, and like having Get There to just kind of hold on to me, like it was really important. It was really impactful. So I think it's really sweet that it is also a very cherished memory for you and Cassie.
Well, damn, I don't know where to go.
Podcast is over. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
It's a fucking masterpiece.
We talked about a silent voice. I guess we're done. Now John is up next.
And next I'm gonna talk about Kakigori, which I can't remember what the kind of is in English title.
It's like The
for
Compulsive Gambler.
I was originally supposed to be on that review, but I think like really last minute scheduling issues came up or something, and I had to sit out. Or something like that, and so I didn't.
If I remember correctly, I think you were sleeping.
Yeah.
And, like, for whatever reason, like, you really needed sleep, because I think you passed out very unexpectly.
That might have been it, yeah.
It was just me and Cammy, and Cast 2
was fun.
Cast 2 was incapacitated, and we read Cass's review on the air, and we're like, we don't know what you rated it, dog, but we hope you like it for what it is.
Yes.
That was it, yeah. Like, I know I was supposed to be on that, but on that episode, but I wasn't for one reason or another. And yeah, I did have a lot of fun watching that series. I went into it very hesitant, like seeing some of the things I saw initially, and there was a couple of bits that I was like, no, I didn't want to see that in the series, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. So it'd be a disservice for me not to give it at least a like it. Not sure if I'd go far as to say I loved it, but I definitely liked it. But I am also looking forward to second series of it,
because it's out.
I'm intrigued to see what Cammy is gonna say about it, because I haven't bothered to watch the second series yet. Because I want to hear if it's worth it. I'm pretty sure it is. The first season was really good, but Cammy will have to let us know in our impressions episode.
That I will.
Yeah, I think I just looked it up and we gave it like it's across the board. It looks like, and I think that's fair.
Yeah.
That show was really cool and different and interesting, and it had an aesthetic.
Very much so. Very much.
The
so.
opening.
The opening.
Oh, that opening.
The
opening
has
and the
style.
ending were both really good.
They were very good, and all those faces.
Never before have I been like so into people like playing gambling games despite never knowing how to gamble myself. It's just like these people are really into this fucking game right now to a point where they are getting really into it, air quotes. And I'm just like, I am disturbed, but also I want to see them win. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm also really turned on right
Yeah.
now, and I don't know why.
I'm not, but they are.
More horny
Are
girls.
you sure? Honestly, though, just as a small spoiler for when we talk about Hanebado in a couple of weeks, I wrote down Kakegurui in the notes in my head, and eventually on a piece of paper because I need to remember. But one of the notes I have, because this show left such an impression on me, is Kakegurui is how they do faces right for intense
Oh my
moments and expressions, and this is how Hanebado did it wrong.
Yes! Yes!
So look forward to that eventually.
Bless.
That's another thing about Kakegurui. Like, normally the art style for the faces changing that much would be a detriment, but no, Kakegurui took it and ran with it and owned that shit. And it really makes it better.
Yeah, I think it also just fits in the universe of the anime very well. Again, I won't go too far into Hanebado, but I definitely see what Cassie means. So, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I think another great thing that Kakegurui has going for it, minus the last couple of episodes where I had some problems, it's really good at maintaining suspense as well.
Yeah.
That's something that it does in spades.
Good pacing.
But yeah, it's a pretty good show. I agree. I like Kakegurui. All right, so I think we're on our last round, and we are making decent good time, I think. This is actually going way faster than I thought, so if people want to milk things for all they're worth, we can at this point.
Okay.
Which is great, because I'm going to go and talk about Eromanga Sensei now.
Oh, no.
What good timing to realize that I have a lot of time.
Oh, no.
Joking aside, I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time on this. Eromanga Sensei is the top of my trash heap. Like, it's literally one of the best trash anime I have ever seen. And in a lot of ways, it's also not a really trashy anime, and I think that those are the parts that I liked the most. It's really hard for me to try and sell that to people, but the people I force to watch it can at least know what I'm talking about. Eromanga, and I hate now that I go back and Dominic pointed this out and I listened to that episode, and back then I called it Euromanga. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why I called it that.
Euromanga Sensei?
Or something. Isn't that what I called it?
Yeah, that is what you
don't-
used to call it. It made me laugh every time.
I don't remember why I did that. But anyway, Eromanga Sensei, is one of those shows that has a really trashy element to it. And also, it's part of the siscon anime block, so there alone it has a lot of stigma, but the show looks really fucking good. It even just from a production standpoint, that show is just so goddamn pretty. The opening is great, the ending is great. Everything, I can't even think of a derpy episode from the first to the last. It also has an underlining cute little story that shows up and is kind of fed to you, and a lot of the characters are really endearing. I think there was only like one I wasn't too crazy about, but Elf was so fucking good.
Yes!
And Sageri was so fucking good. Even the main dude was actually pretty fun. A lot of the characters are just really fun. And I believed that they wanted to be good artists and light novel authors, respectively. And they did this thing where they constantly talked about being a content creator and how getting the feedback from the audience is just like so impactful to how that they basically do their craft. And that's why I like Eromanga Sensei. That's the secret. It's actually really good.
Le gasp.
It's also really trashy.
Le gasp.
And unfortunately that trash is a part of it. I understand it's there. Don't at me. I know. It's there. I get it. There are some problems with the show. There's some stuff that is cringeworthy. It over-sexualizes some characters it probably shouldn't. But it's a pretty show, and it had some good moments, so I love the show, and I gave it a like it at the time because I think I was scared of the impact.
Let's face it, though, there are way cringier shows out there than Eromanga Sensei.
Oh dear God, yeah.
Like Green.
There are shows that have been, in your eyes, have been trying to ape what Eromanga Sensei did and failed.
Oh God. Yeah, like ever since Eromanga Sensei happened, there's been this weird like
Trend.
upheaval in siscon anime shows, and they're all bad. They are all
dealing
fucking
all with
bad.
authors and writing and shit.
I don't know if they are intentionally or if this is just a trope in light novels, but it doesn't do it as good as Eromanga Sensei does. But anyway, point of the matter is, I gave it a like it at the time. I'm pretty sure it's just because I was afraid of the stigma and getting backlash for giving it a love it. But I love Eromanga Sensei. I do. I love it from the bottom of my heart. It is one of the best trash anime I've ever watched.
If it makes you feel any better, to dodge even more stigma, I'm going to drop some really, really hot tea that not only does Eromanga Sensei do better than what has come after it, but it also did better than its predecessor, cough cough, named Oreimo.
Ugh. I hate that show.
At least there's no bitchy characters in Eromanga Sensei, so
Yep.
it's got that going for
I
it.
mean, you've got the one character that tried to force, him to stop writing.
The girl with the bandages
blah, blah,
on her
blah.
hands.
Yeah, she was a little bitchy, but not nearly as much as Kirin. God, I hate Orimo.
Yep.
I was expecting to hate Eromanga Sensei because it was by the same author and it had kind of a similar kind of
Archetype.
I don't know, air to it, but an archetype to it. But I think the other thing that makes it a little less uncomfortable, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, that's just how they're trying to get away with it," is they're not actually siblings. And spoiler, so skip a couple seconds ahead if you need to. There's an instance where they explain that these kids knew each other when they were younger and probably liked each other long before they became siblings too. So that's where it also kind of sets itself apart from Orimo, which is actually a blood-related sibling couple, and that made me feel super fucking uncomfortable. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah.
I am glad that you love it and you wear that with pride now. Because, yeah, it's a really enjoyable show, and for what it does it really, really, really well. Yeah, Elf, I love Elf so much, and I'm actually really excited about the OVA that's coming out.
Oh, right, it focuses on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Elf is, literally one of the best characters in that show. And that's another thing, the main female lead, Sagiri, I liked her a whole lot. I hated Kirino.
Yeah.
Sagiri is kind of reclusive and has trouble with speaking with people and is a little twitchy, but she has reasons for it.
Yeah, and you see growth within her character, like very gradual, but you can tell she's making efforts to change and that she's motivated by something that's not just herself. And again, I can't fully speak for Oremo, but from everything that I had seen of Kirino, I kind of had enough, and I was like, yeah, no, you're just selfish.
She's a bitch. I hate her. Cammy, your turn.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm here to talk about Kekai Sensen and Beyond, or Blood Blockade Battlefront and Beyond. And this is a show, this was another episode that was just Craig and I. And Cassie referred back to the Sakura Quest review and just said, I don't know what stick I had up my ass. And I have to say the same thing for this episode. I just went full blown like nuts, like screaming about the things that I just found peculiar or frustrating about Blood Blockade Battlefront. And I think part of it was because I marathoned both season 1 and 2 at the same time quite frequently. And I think even just for like one season, looking back on it, I don't think, for me at least, it's a show that you should binge. I think it's a show that you should check out like an episode or a couple or two randomly when you want to pace yourself through it. Because I do still stand by the argument that I think it's like at times almost way too much intensity at once. But again, like that on its own and not forcibly like being viewed all the time is okay. And it definitely didn't bother everybody. Like, for you, Craig, that was never really an issue from what I recall. And I would assume probably the same thing for, like, Zach. And if you're looking for something that's really action-heavy, it delivers in spades. The comedy is all slapstick. There's a bunch of cool action sequences. Not to mention, the production on this show is a beast. Massive props to Studio Bones, not only just for the crazy, like, innovative visual production, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I actually almost wanted to mention this show at our end of the year list when we were talking about a show that wasn't from 2018, but that we watched. I think that Kekai Sensen has probably somewhere in my top 3 anime soundtracks of all time. The music in that show is phenomenal. Yep. Openings and endings definitely, but also just the soundtrack is insane. Like some of the individual songs like just got me going. Like I listened to a lot of them on the way to work. And there are a lot of like really good memorable jokes in the show that are hilarious. There are some lines that I still remember. I went back and like watched just a clip compilation recently and I was just like, yeah, there's so much fun in this show. And I think I really had to kind of step back and not necessarily look at the show for, I wanted it to be everything, so I focused on the things that it didn't do, but just looking at it for what it is. I do still think that I have, like, some drawbacks with the show, but I would go back and give it a like it. It's a really, like, it's a fun show, and I probably wouldn't mind watching it again, or I think I even commented about wanting to read the manga to get more of the characters. So, yeah, I would bump that up to a like it. What are your thoughts, Craig?
Basically, to just kind of say, if you like binge all of season 1 and then binge all of season 2, I can understand the burnout effect of this. Season 2, going back to what we said in the episode proper, season 2 kind of threw away a through line and made it more episodic to flesh out the ensemble cast. So season 2, in my opinion, was way more fun. They got more of a budget. It was just more zany and crazy. And to comment on your props to the soundtrack, it is a very Western themed sort of tone and music theming as well, because obviously it's in New York City and it's just got a bunch of people and weird aliens, and it's just about a kid trying to get money working at this secret organization where he's essentially just like, I have superpowered eyes that can see anything. I'm going to use them to pay the rent and essentially help my sister out. And it's fun and very unique by the creator of Trigun. So
yeah, I think you're also right. Season 2 especially did a much better job of approaching it with an episodic lens, which originally is how the manga is, you told me.
I believe so,
and yeah, it did digest a lot better that way as well. it didn't matter then if things were crazy and didn't make sense or whatever, because it was just, your glimpse into the characters' lives and the crazy things going on around them.
Yeah. Stephen wears a suit. He looks good.
Yeah, so I would definitely go back, and I definitely think that people should give it a watch, at least 3 episodes, see if it's your thing, and then if it's not, just go look up the soundtrack and all the openings and endings.
Unison Square Garden!
Oh my god, yes.
I still need to go check it out myself. I've been meaning to. It's on my list of things to watch.
How's that backlog treating you?
That's about it. Yeah, only Craig and I were on that episode, so
Yeah.
it makes sense it'd be a little shorter.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I remember a long time ago when the first season came out, I was like, oh my god, this looks like a fucking aesthetic, but I never got around to it.
That's a good way to describe it, I think.
Like, it just, I really liked the way the eyes looked in
Mhm.
I think it was the PV I saw, and I remember, I watched the first episode, because I think I was originally supposed to be on this episode, but I looked at the schedule at the time and was like, God, I just need a fucking break.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
And so I took one, but it was on my radar, I just didn't get around to it, but it looked fun.
Yeah, it's definitely fun, and it oozes style. And I think that I was just like, no, you need style and a story. And then I was like, well, if I just look at the story and the fact that it is style heavy, yeah, it's fun. You can enjoy a show just for that.
Yeah.
So
It's also very chaotic, mind you. I think, Cass, that was one of the reasons why you were kind of deterred from it. You were like, I don't know what the fuck is going on in this episode, and things are exploding, and there's no through line.
which is true.
I got confused. Like, the first episode is very strange, and that's the only thing I watched was the first episode of season 1, and it, starts at a point, and then, the show kind of, rewinds, and I don't know, it was just confusing.
It is, which it totally is. I agree completely.
By the director Kyosa Giga. Fun fact.
I'm excited to watch Kyoso Giga. We're going to be watching that soon, for reasons, but I'm excited to check Kyoso Giga out. The exact opposite happened with me with Kyoso Giga, actually, where I watched the first episode 4 different times because I was so in love with the first episode, and then I just didn't finish it.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're going to get to take that opportunity up now.
Yeah, for sure. Craig,
Yes.
you're up.
All right. All style. Want to talk to you about a show that I gave a like it, but it was in my top 6 or top picks for anime of the year 2017. Little gem, called Land of the Lustrous.
Wow.
Right? Channeling Pete.
Pete over here.
Right? Land of the Lustrous, aka
Hoseki no Kuni.
Thank you. So, yeah, like I said, my original rating was like it, but I'm gonna bump this one up to a love it. It came out in the fall of 2017, and we rated it somewhere in 2018, and it definitely has problems. If you don't really like the main character, then you're probably not gonna get a lot out of the show. It's pretty quiet, but fuck, man, this is how you do CG right. Like, when people look at CG and say, fuck, that looks stiff and awkward and out of place, this whole entire show by Studio Orange, completely choreographed and shot, and no wonder it took them so long to actually come up with this. If there ever is going to be a season 2, it'll probably come out in 2022. So, yeah, I just got the Steelbook Blu-ray from Sentai, and I'm going to watch that because the voice acting in the English dub seemed pretty good. But yeah, I just really liked it and I enjoyed it. I think back on it, I'm like, man, this was actually a really cool aesthetic. Like, it's totally different from what we normally get. It's way calmer, but again, I do recognize that it has some problems. I know that a few of us here were like, I don't really get Phosphorite as a character, and ergo, I don't really care. I see what you're presenting me, but I just want more Daya. And let's face it, we all want more Daya. But yeah, this show is fucking awesome for what it did, and I need to read the manga. I know a friend of ours, Zach, has read all of the manga, and the latest volume will drop in April. So yeah, I'm thirsty for more.
I've been reading the manga as well. I'm not sure if I'm quite up to date. Need to check. I think I'm up to date. I also managed to track down the original OVA PV thing that was made for the manga, and comparing the two art styles between that PV and the TV series we got, they are so drastically different, because one is actually sticking the original PV was sticking true to the manga, and while that was super stylized in one way, I definitely prefer what we got for the TV series itself. And I almost think it would have been even longer to do the full series in the style that it was in that PV.
Yeah, I think the
Oddly
original
enough.
PV was traditional 2D animation, so...
Yeah, it was.
I haven't seen the original PV, but if I'm going back with, like, how I feel about Land of the Luscious, at the time I gave it a like it. I think there are still parts of the show I like. I just think that this is just one of those shows that really resonated with you and John and Zach, and it just, I don't know, it wasn't that I wanted more Dia, I wanted more of a coherent narrative. And I never got that. I tried to check out the manga because I was told that it's a little bit more coherent in the manga, what's going on. But I haven't actually gotten around to it. I have the first volume that I got. I think Bookwalker did something where, like, the first volume was on sale for like $1 or something.
Oh, dang.
So I snagged it back in the day, and I haven't got around to reading it yet. So if you want to read it, I have it on my Bookwalker, Craig. If you want to check out what the manga's like for the first chapter, or first volume. But I don't know. There was just something about Hoseki no Kuni that just never really resonated with me. If anything, time is just making me care less about it, I guess. But I am really happy that it resonated with you guys. I think there's just shows like that gives somebody something and it just doesn't give it to everybody else.
Yeah, I listened to another podcast review it, Transformation Sequence. I'll drop a little reference link for them in our description. But there's a married couple on there, and it was interesting because the wife really, really, really loved Land of the Lustrous. It was just everything that she was super into. She loved the body horror. She loved the kind of gender fluidity commentary. She loved how creepy it was and up to interpretation. And her husband was just like, yeah, I didn't really get it. It was just there, but I am really happy. He said, to his wife about just how much she loved it, and what he enjoyed about it was how much it affected other people. And I do think that Hoseki no Kuni is an interesting case where you either just really, 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 really love it, or it doesn't really do it for you. And I'm with Cassie there. Yeah.
I think Hoseki no Kuni is your Flip Flappers.
Oh.
I need to...
Because I'm over here screaming about how good Flip Flappers is, and most of the people who've watched it are like, I like it, it's okay. Or they haven't finished it. So
I'm 3 episodes in, and I'm like, man, Flip Flappers is Gynax as fuck.
I thought you finished Flip Flappers, Craig.
Nah.
He hasn't finished it yet. He was watching it with Zach. I don't know if that's a good statement you just made. It's Gynax as what?
As fuck.
Oh, it's Gynax as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It has a lot of references and crazy stuff going on with it. But
it's polished.
But it's one of those shows that, you know what, also, the same criticism that I gave Hoseki no Kuni, I could see that applied to Flip Flappers, because Flip Flappers' story through line is very not tangible. But it's the same thing with Hoseki no Kuni, at least to me, where the narrative is there, but they expect you as the viewer to pick it up in pieces and put it together at the end. And I was able to do that in Flip Flappers. I was not able to do that in Land of the Lustrous. So
I dropped both shows.
I feel like I want to go back and rewatch Flip Flappers at some point, because I did enjoy it, and I might enjoy it more on a rewatch.
Does anyone know if they dubbed it?
Yes, they did.
I mean, they did, and I have the box set. So every single box set I have ever bought or has been purchased for me will at some point be viewed, probably together. So you will finish Flip Flappers, honey, whether you like it or not.
So what the through line I'm seeing in this episode is Dom is being forced, Clockwork Orange style, to watch all of Cass's anime. Flip Flappers, Aramanga Sensei will fix you, Dom.
Oh, I never said they had to watch
She doesn't own Aramanga Sensei, thank God.
Not yet.
We'll fix you.
Even if you buy that, I'm not watching
We'll
it.
fix you, Dom. We'll fix you.
No.
Oh, Lord.
I don't think I'll ever force Dominic to watch Aramanga Sensei. I don't think I don't think they'd like it. I don't think they would at all. But anyway, anything else to say on Land of the Lustrous, Greg?
It's fucking pretty.
It is really pretty,
No arguments there.
especially for a CG show. Okay, so next up we have, what do you got for us?
So I'm my third show, anime, Mongolian wall painting, is Devilman Crybaby.
Devilman.
A lot of people's anime of the year, or
Yeah.
last year.
I wasn't on the episode, even though I was literally like sitting
You were
on
behind me.
I was literally on the bed in the background, just kind of dying or something. I don't know. I think I was really tired, and I was offered to be on the episode, and I was like, nah, I'm okay.
I think you said you didn't have a lot to say at the time.
At the time, I didn't. Yeah, at the time, I didn't. This is one of the other things that happens. Is sometimes we'll watch a show, and then like we have to review it like immediately, or what would happen
Yep.
before. And Cassie would offer for me to be on the show, and I'd be like, well, I haven't really had a whole lot of time to process that one yet, so no thanks.
Devilman is meaty.
Yeah, and Devilman is fairly big in stuff.
Yes.
Metaphors.
Yeah. So I think this was on the last episode where we were going through or not the last episode. The one episode where we were going through the Crunchyroll Anime Award nominations, and I had mentioned, Devilman being pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were, and I mean, I think and it resonated with like a shit ton of people. I think that was one of the really impressive things about it, is that it like made waves in ways that this type of property usually doesn't tend to do. And the reason for Devilman Crybaby is a reboot essentially of one of Go Nagai's original mangas from the 70s. And he is basically like one of the most influential manga creators of all time. No one can deny this. A lot of his stuff has been, influencing things for a very long time, including, Ava and a bunch of other stuff that I'm too lazy to dredge out from the crypt. But yeah, so for Devilman Crybaby to come out of nowhere and drop on Netflix and have the kind of like sort of almost like just incredible amount of just visually stimulating and also kind of disturbing amount of content that it had, and still have like a shit ton of people like love it, says a lot about that show. And it's something that I'm actually incredibly like kind of happy to see like make waves with people, because as someone who's like a fan of Go Nagai's stuff and has been consuming a lot of content that's basically come from him in the past several years, it's actually really nice to see people suddenly actually like pay attention and like take notice.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, good show. I mean personally I felt that a lot of the a lot of the content was a little over the top. I think that was like one of my big like things that I didn't like, is that I felt like a lot of the like sex and the violence was a little much. But otherwise I really enjoyed the show, and yeah.
What would you
I would give it a love it.
Oh.
Good.
Look at you go.
Good.
Cassie, that was one of your arguments as well, kind of about the explicit content, right? That you also felt that it was a bit much.
Yeah, the two things that, because I think I gave Devilman Crybaby a lot of praise as well, but the two things that bothered me the most about the show is, one, there's this weird like shift from the show being about one thing to something to it being on like an astronomically big level, and it happens within the blink of an eye. And to me, it felt like, I don't know what is the word for
Whiplash?
it. Whiplash. There we go. Where it was like, oh, the show's about one thing that was already kind of intense, and now you're switching. Okay, whatever. That bothered me a lot. And the second thing was, I understand that the sex and the violence was there for a reason, which, to be fair, and a lot of other anime that does this on a much lower scale does not implement it as well as Devilman Crybaby. There was a reason for it to be there. However, I do think that it borderlined on gratuitous. I feel like some of the scenes went on for far too long. And I feel like some of the imagery, especially when it came to sex, was a little bit too disturbing, and I don't know, I just didn't understand why it needed to be there. A lot of the time it was really good at using that kind of imagery to show how depraved humanity was, or how depraved the people involved were, but it didn't need to be there as much as it was, and it didn't need to go on for as long as it did, in my personal opinion. So I'm going to stick by my rating of a like it. The show is really good, but I just think that a few of the things that happened kind of took it down a peg for me. But I'm happy everybody else loved it. That's good.
What a show, man. I will preach that show till the day I die, man. I can understand why people definitely have issues with it. The gratuitousness of it, the whiplash of the theming of it. I'm not going to discuss it here, but it's only 10 episodes, and for that, I think they probably needed more, like a longer show order for that. But for the raw kinetic style of Yuasa, and like the fucking music that slaps you over the head and is just like, you like the music yet? And you're just like, yes, I do. I do like the music, as Devilman's literally ripping people in half and then has a sex dream, and it's really fucking disturbing. You're like, well, at least me, I was like, this is comical in the weirdest way. It's like a panty and stocking, where it's really gratuitous, but it's also like knows what it is and owns it, and then it gets really fucking deep and sad and really fucking deep. And then it paves the way for all the references to come.
Like, the only real piece that I really do wish I had watched the show to get the full grasp of was, like, the aspect of the rappers. Because Get showed me that one scene where the one guy is, like, rapping to the girl and then she's crying.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that hit me like a truck.
Yeah, I do kind of wish that I had that context, but I think for me, on a whole, I think I even had a discussion with Get with this, because he watched it and he was just like, yeah, I don't know if it's like worth it for you to brave through all of the stuff that really like disturbs you. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. But at the same time, just because it's something that I don't think I can process content-wise doesn't mean that I can't see how it's brilliant, especially just from the words of so many other people. It's very much like Akira for me, which is that I can't watch it because it will fuck me up, but I know it's really, really good.
Honestly, half the reason I watched the show is because I was tired of people saying I couldn't handle it. It actually kind of annoyed me when I was like, maybe I'll go check it out. And then like Craig and Suki and Zach and like several others were like, Cassie, no, you can't handle it. You can't. And I'm like, fuck you. And then I went and watched it.
You did it.
Because it's one thing for people to say, you know, there's this and this in it. I I do this with Cammie all the time where I'm like,
Yes.
hey, just so you know, this is in here, make the decision on your own. It's a completely different thing to say, you can't handle it, don't do it. Then I'm just like, oh, well, now you've made it a challenge.
Oh, totally. Totally.
Challenge accepted.
I mean, I'm sure you guys did it with good intentions, but I think that just hearing it constantly whenever I even mention, like, you know, there's a lot of discussion about this show. I think I might at least give it a couple episodes. And I got, no, Cassie, you can't handle it, you poor precious soul.
I mean, you are
It's like,
you are a precious sun child, wrapped in the blanket of ignorance. But like, I think at a certain point, my take was, yeah, you should watch it. Just at least watch the first episode because it's a literal acid trip.
Yeah, and it was, and I got through it, and I think that a lot of the things that people praise it for are definitely there. I just think that, for me at least, it wasn't like a masterpiece, but it was definitely something that like stands out in its time, and it's something that a lot of anime should take a what is it a reference to, or take heed of, or at least look at and go, look, like, it's okay to tell raw, intense stories to make, you know, to get your message across, because I think that there's a lot of people who are too scared to do the things that Devilman did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for that, I respect it entirely. There are just a couple of things that knocked it down a bit for me, but it's definitely amazing.
I still don't have any urge to watch it myself, and that's because I'm a bit of a wuss at times when it comes to some of the subject matter that I've heard this series deals with.
It's okay, John. Just go listen to the soundtrack.
Run.
I probably should listen to the soundtrack because, like, what I've heard, I do kind of dig. So
yeah, you can just say you experienced through the soundtrack. That's basically the same thing, right?
Is it?
I don't know, but if we're done talking about Devilman, it actually is John's turn to wrap us out here with our last discussion of the evening.
Woo!
And speaking of series that might have content that might rub people the wrong way,
Or the right way.
or the right way.
Whoa, Cammie, no.
I'm just saying, there was a lot of rubbing going on.
No.
So the last series that we're going to be talking about for tonight is Kuzu no Honkai, aka Scum's Wish. And I think this might have been like one of the last series that we were still using number system on, I think, maybe?
I don't know.
This series initially was hard for me to get into. There was stuff that I could see it was odd. There were things I was enjoying about it, and then there was also things that were kind of not sitting well for me. And I initially did give it a love it, but on hindsight, I'm probably not going to, as much as I did end up enjoying the series, I don't feel any urge to rewatch it anytime soon, to be honest. And I do still think that it's a good series worthy of praise. But I'm just not sure if I would go as far to say that I love it. So I'm going to knock it down to a like it, because I did still really enjoy it. Just maybe not quite love it level now. If that makes sense.
That's fair.
Going back to something that Cammie said earlier on, and I'm going to use this to defend it, I suppose, because I gave this show a love it too, and I'm going to stick by it, because we very rarely get shows that handle sex in a way that is either positive or negative in the proper way, and I think that Scum's Wish it approached sex in a very realistic way.
Yeah.
That a lot of shows have tried to do since and are still failing at. I think there's a show this season that's trying to do that, and it's failing horribly.
Oh.
From what Cammie's told me.
Oh.
So in that regard, I still believe that Scum's Wish is of course, not a show that is going to appeal to everyone because of its subject matters. But if you go in knowing what is going to go on in that show and you still sit through the ride, I think that there's a lot of things that you could take note objectively and say, okay, this is doing things that a lot of anime don't bother to try and do.
Definitely, yeah.
And for that reason, I gave it a love it. I don't think I want to go back and watch Scum's Wish anytime soon either, because it's a hard show to get through because of its subject matter, but I don't think that makes it a show that is not worthy of praise.
Yeah, no, definitely not saying it's not worthy of praise. Just...
I'm aware. I'm saying it from my point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty much kind of in like both camps. I think, John, you're looking at it at this point from your more subjective point of view versus...
Yeah, it is definitely a lot more subjective for me at this point.
Yeah. I think that the way that Scum's Wish implanted... verbs. The way that Scum's Wish used sex was really, really well done. I also have to say that they managed to make a lot of scenes a lot more like tantalizing than most hentai do also, so good on them there.
Yeah.
And it was like, the art was really, really beautiful, and it's really cool. I think for me it was also just kind of drawn back by the fact that I just like saw a lot of weird personal trauma in some of the characters, so it, like, that part of it made it hard for me to get through, and I think hampered my my rating of it. But if I look at it objectively completely, I think there's a lot of things that it did really, really well.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that I try and advertise Scum's Wish to people on is that it starts out with a lot of toxic relationships.
Yeah.
And by the end of the show, almost every single one of them is healthy, or the person has moved on and realized that they deserve better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That resolve was so good.
And they managed to do that within like a few episodes, and people who were in relationships just to basically continue their own toxic ways of dealing with men, for example, or women, were able to look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, you know what, I deserve to be treated well. And in that regard, it has some nice messaging, but also just lessons to be learned. Like, just because you are an awful person does not mean that you don't deserve love. Just because you're the greatest person in the world doesn't mean that you deserve love. It all of it requires a certain amount of effort and realizing what other people feel and want. And I think that Scum's Wish does that way better than most anime do.
It's like really cool character development and very subtle in its execution. By the end of it, I was like very impressed with it. It is very heavy. I do remember watching all of this within like, I'd say 2 or 3 days. And kind of like how Dom said that watching Devilman, you got a lot to take in and you have to stew on it. I went right into that review and I was like, you know what? I like it, and I still stand by that. I'm like, man, good character development, and the animation was fucking beautiful. I can't remember the studio offhand, but man, it was good.
I don't remember either. But yeah, I think this anime, I think I'm the only one who objectively and subjectively probably enjoyed the whole ride, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That is okay.
I think another thing that's very interesting with Scum's Wish too, like, to get different genres, but to go back to the thing about how Arrow Manga Sensei, like, there's been so many shows that kind of try to deliver on what it does and they don't succeed. I can't think of another show that attempts to even attempts to do like what Kuzuno Honkai does, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And that also speaks for how unique that is, and unique pieces of anime I am always here for.
I think the closest I can think of is
School Days?
School Days, and that's a bit of a stretch because that's
yeah, it's just a harem for the most part.
School Days is one of those shows that I really like, but I admit that it's mostly trash. I just get up on my soapbox because there are people who say School Days is only trash, and I'm like, actually, wait a minute.
Something I forgot to mention before, Cassie, also, is that you were saying people said you couldn't handle Devilman, and I'm like, Cassie loved the heck out of Higurashi, like, years ago.
Exactly.
No, touche.
Like, I'm fine with blood and gore and shit. Like, that's one of the other reasons I was like, why is everybody trying to protect me like a precious 2-year-old? Okay, fuck this.
Exactly.
I will say, going back to like Devilman and like Scum's Wish in this, I'm glad that there are a select few animes in each season that tell mature stories and like has a dedicated fan base to them. So like Scum's Wish is a mature story about like adolescence and toxic relationships, and Devilman is just like, yo, it's fucking dark, albeit a tad extreme, but you know, it's has themes that are exemplifying like the good in people. So
I think that the only series that people came up to me after I expressed an interest in Kuzuno Hankai, with good intent, when said, you know what, I liked Kuzuno Hankai, but you know something that did it better? Nana. And I haven't seen Nana, so I can't even like begin to compare the two. But it makes me really want to see Nana, because apparently it also is a pretty heavy show that is led by mostly a female cast, and deals with like heavy subjects like sex and drugs, I guess, and other things, and being in the music industry and other stuff.
That's a really good comparison. And you know what? I got mad at a lot of the characters in Nana as well. To be fair.
I have not seen it, and it's on my shame list. I feel like we should have an episode someday that's just called Our Shame List, where it's got like really well recommended anime that we just haven't watched.
So John would be the forefront of that.
I mean, yeah, probably, I guess.
Slay, Craig, what?
But hey, listen,
Fucking
there's a lot
out.
of really, I know, right? Jesus Christ, Craig. How about you squish that knife a little further into his back?
Okay, John, go watch. You need to watch a lot, but let's face it, to throw us all under the bus, we all have a bunch of shit that we need to watch.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the point I want to make, but not just shows that we say, oh, I think we should watch, but things that are impactful and well loved in the community, like Cowboy Bebop, or Nana, or Paradise Kiss, or Honey and Clover, or, you know, there's a lot of them that I've heard nothing but good things about. They've been highly rated. They're things that are recommended to me in the community all the time, and I go, yeah, I'm totally gonna get to that, and I never have.
Going back to Shirobako.
Going back
Shirobako.
to Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju for all of you that still haven't watched it.
For me and John, March Comes in Like a Lion Season 2.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. Rakugo Shinju and March Comes in Like a Lion are two of the best anime to come out in the last fucking decade.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
That's high praise.
And people do not watch them, and I get so fucking sad.
I need to fix that. I want to fix that. I actually do want to fix that with both of those.
The thing that sucks about Nana, though, is that it's literally not legally available for me anywhere.
And it used to be on Netflix. That's when I watched it, but now it's completely gone, and it's super long.
Isn't it owned by Viz?
I did a research on it, and I think it's actually owned by somebody else who's just sitting on the license. Because it hasn't been released, and it hasn't been re-released in any way that I can purchase it. I can't remember who has the license to it, but yeah. The only thing that I've heard has done things like Scum's Wish is Nana, and I want to watch it for similar reasons, because I like watching characters suffer and learn from it, because I feel that's more realistic to life, and I like seeing stuff like that. That's why I loved A Silent Voice. That's why I loved, oh god, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Viz Media.
Rakugo,
Oh
actually.
my
Like Rakugo doesn't deal with sex, but it deals with things
Whew.
like class structure and the placement of women within a theater medium throughout the years, relationships and how they grow,
Unhealthy
unconventional motherhood.
Unhealthy rivalries.
Yup.
Oh god, there's so much.
Yeah. So while I probably wouldn't put Scum's Wish on as much of a pedestal as I would something like Rakugo, like, I still think, and I will die on this hill, that if you can handle the subject matter, it's one of the better anime to come out that year. That it came out. But I can understand why you'd want to bump it down a bit. It definitely made people uncomfortable. I think it was supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the point. It's not like one of those shows like Arrow Manga where it's like, wow, that 11-year-old bent over in front of me. I feel kind of uncomfortable. That's a different kind of uncomfortable that I realize is a problem. The uncomfortability you feel in Scum's Wish is supposed to be there, but if you're not wanting... It's like how Dominic said earlier about the silent voice. Sometimes you want to watch stuff and you just don't want to cry. Sometimes you watch anime and you just don't want to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of is what you're approaching anime for and what you want.
A good sense
But
of
yeah.
escapism.
This was fun. This was actually a very wholesome episode.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite ones.
Me too.
I had so much fun.
Definitely a good topic for 100 episode milestone.
For sure. Now, we did mention it earlier, but Craig is on another podcast, the lovely Save Our Progress, which recently Cammie was on to talk about the Oscars, I
Yes.
believe. I haven't got to listen to that episode yet, but I'm really excited to. They are a variety podcast. They used to be gaming, but now they just talk about whatever the fuck they want. So every week's a surprise. So definitely go check them out at soundcloud.com/saveourprogress. For our other social links, if you liked what you heard today, if you want us to do more episodes like this, or you just want to talk to us in general, we have a few ways that you can do so. One of them is at twitter.com/AnnieChatbox. You can add us at any time, as long as it's not about Aromaga Sensei. You can also send us an email at anniechatmail@gmail.com. We'll read your email on the air. We don't tend to respond to emails. I realize we never actually mention that, but we don't tend to respond to them, but we do read them and respond to them on the podcast. So if you haven't heard your email read, we may not have gotten it. So definitely send it to us again at anniechatmail@gmail.com. I do not know what you are currently listening to us on, oh lovely listener, but if you are listening to us on one thing, I want you to know that we're available on other things, such as iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Lastly, we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/AnnieChatbox. We currently have 3 wonderful patrons in Sarah, CorpsyAnn, Carol, Suki, and Paul. We actually need to get to work on giving them some stuff that they deserve.
Yeah.
But actually, another thing, you guys listening, if you have any ideas for Patreon tiers, things that you would like to see us offer that would be more of an incentive, definitely shoot us an email, because we want to give you guys what you want to hear or make us do whatever.
Make it more incentive for the tiers that you were purchased or subscribed to.
Yeah, because we want to definitely thank you guys for helping support us. So if you have any ideas, shoot us an email or add us on Twitter. Do whatever you got to do. But we're listening. We're always here and we're always listening. But now we're going to give you a break from listening and head out for the evening. So unless anybody has any final thoughts, feelings, emotions, soapboxes to stand on.
I just want to say, for everybody that's been listening to us, especially from the beginning, thank you so much for following us over these, past 100 episodes. We're really excited and dedicated to providing you again with even more content. So keep listening, keep responding to us, and we really appreciate that you listen to us so that way we can still keep doing what we do.
For sure. And for a little bit more excitement, next week we are going to be doing finally our winter impressions. So, and we also have some announcements regarding some earlier anime. You might be wondering where it is. So, we've got some announcements coming up, some changes coming up, and also our impressions next week. So stay tuned. And until then, oyasumi.
Bye-bye.
Boy. Bye.